Welcome to Awaken with Sulkina, a space where we dive deep into soul growth, quantum manifesting, and spiritual awakening. I'm your host, Sulkina, and I'm here to guide you through the beautiful, messy, transformational journey of waking up to who you truly are. Each week, we'll explore the shifts, the challenges, and the miracles that come with awakening. Your soul is here to evolve, and you're not meant to do it alone. So let's walk this path together. Welcome back, everyone, to Awakening with Sulkina. I'm so excited for today's episode. It's going to be such a good one. We're diving deep into the topic of manifesting a specific person, but I want to talk about how to do it not from a place of desperation or chasing, but truly from a place of soul alignment, from self-worth and like deep inner power. And I'm excited because today I'm joined by someone so amazing. I already told her before we even started recording, but Courtney, she specializes in helping people shift their self-concept. I love her videos, literally every single one. I resonate with so much, and it's just always so aligned with everything that I believe in. So I know that this conversation is going to resonate with so many of you as well, because we're going to explore what it really means to manifest love from your soul and how to shift your energy without manipulating outcomes, and why the journey back to yourself is really the most magnetic thing that you can ever do. So, Courtney, welcome to the episode.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me. I love you and your content, and I feel the same way every time I see your videos pop up. It's so aligned with, me and the way that I teach as well, and I'm just so honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Okay, Courtney, let's just get right to the heart of it, okay? So, what does it really mean to manifest a specific person from a soul aligned place rather than from control?
Speaking from experience here, I have been on both sides of that, as I'm sure a lot of people have, and a lot of listeners can probably identify with. And to me, the major marker of the difference between the two things is you having the awareness that you have always been whole and complete on your own, and you don't need a specific person to make you worthy, to make you loved, to make you complete. They're just the cherry on top. They're just the experience of having all of those things that you already are and have always been reflected back to you. And that's an experience that you absolutely get to have. But if you are manifesting a person from a place of lack or fear or controlling outcomes, like you said, that's not coming from alignment with who you truly are. But when you're coming from a place of, because it is a journey home to self, I'm whole and complete. I love myself. I am all of the love that I seek, and I have found it within me. Of course, I can have that person, and they are absolutely going to want to reflect that back to me. So that's the difference, if that makes sense.
That totally makes sense. And like the way that I see it too is people truly are your greatest mirror. Like
Yes.
when you can understand that, like you said, everything is a journey back to self, it's impossible to operate from the victim mindset too, because when somebody says something or does something you don't like, you see it as an invitation to come back deeper within yourself.
Absolutely, yes. I sometimes I will say that the specific person journey is a trap because you people fall into it thinking, "Oh, if I just find all of these techniques and like I found all of this knowledge to get this person, and if I can just get this person and make them show up the way that I want them to, then I'll feel better. Then I'll feel complete. Then I'll feel loved and wanted and chosen and good enough." But that's the paradox and that's the trap because they are your direct mirror, and the world is a mirror, and which is why this journey can be so uncomfortable and triggering because they will show up reflecting your self-betrayal, your void within yourself that you're trying to fill with all of these things outside of you that have never come from outside of you. And so that in itself will force you to come home to yourself and to awaken and to see, wait a minute, I've been chasing all of these things that were always right here within me. And so it kind of tricks you into finding yourself in a way. And once you truly find yourself and you see that the fulfillment of all these things that you've always been seeking are right here with you, it is the most freeing, liberating thing you could ever do. And it's the best thing you'll ever do for yourself. And nobody will ever take that away from you. And you just will not look at the world or yourself or relationships the same way ever again. It truly will set you free. And then the irony here is it gives you a fulfilling, loving, healthy, whole relationship with yourself. Then you'll always have good relationships with other people because they are just reflecting what you are sourcing within.
So it's really about manifesting a different version of you first and then allowing that person or whoever, even if you don't have a specific person and you just want to manifest love, it's allowing that experience to find you, right? So it's like, it's just about true alignment. And when you work on yourself, it's easy to find that alignment. And this actually reminds me of a video that popped up on my FYP today on TikTok. So funny, but it was about Justin Bieber and how he shared in an interview, he was like, I thought getting married was going to solve all my problems, but it didn't. And I guess, he was kind of talking about Selena Gomez. I'm like so invested in this. But he was essentially saying that he had all of these problems and like he was feeling differently about himself and he thought that getting married or being in a relationship was just going to solve all of them and it didn't, right? And I was like, wait, that's so real because that's what I thought. Like when I was on a journey of manifesting a specific person, I was like, if I can just get the person, I'm going to be okay. Like I'm going to be
Yep.
fine. So I just need to have that person.
Exactly. And I feel like a lot of people can identify with that because even me, like I was coming from that exact same place at the beginning of my specific person journey too, as we all are probably, because that's kind of part of the process that wakes you up and brings you back into alignment with yourself. It's all part of the plan, you know what I mean? But I love Justin Bieber and I love him for that and he is so real for that because it's so true. And I look back on my own experience and I see where I've done that in so many areas of my life, especially in relationships where if I can just have this person, specifically this person, and if I can just get them to show up this way, then that's going to mean that I'm validated. That's going to mean that I'm finally chosen. But that's not how it works. I mean, it also reminds me of, the person who's like, if I could just win the lottery, it'll solve all my problems. I personally know someone who won a big lottery and it did not solve all their problems because they had the same self-concept and the same beliefs and the same fears, and so it really is all an inside job that we have to stop outsourcing all of these things to our external world and kind of flip and reverse that and go within and realize everything I've ever wanted is actually within me. It's not out there. And so I can have all of those experiences. I can have that specific person. I can have the relationship. I can have the money. I can have all of the things, but that's not where my fulfillment or my worth or my value or any of those things that we seek. That's not what validates me. It's me.
I'm interrupting the episode real quick, but if you're trying to manifest your specific person but still feel stuck in the same old story, it's time to go deeper. You cannot manifest a new version of them if you're still holding on to the old version of you. That's exactly why I created Forgive and Recreate Your SP. This is my transformational workshop to help you release the past, shift your energy, and finally become the version of you who receives the love you've been desiring. We're not chasing, we never chase our specific person. We are going to heal on a deep level. If you're ready to stop repeating the same cycles and finally create a brand new story for yourself and your specific person, this is your invitation. Join me inside this workshop. I would love to have you in there. You'll find all the link in the show notes. And now back to the episode. Yeah, and I think if you practice giving yourself what you desire so much, when that thing comes, it doesn't even feel like a shock anymore because you're like, Well, yeah, of course. It's almost like you've already trained yourself to feel all those feelings, and especially when it comes to like manifesting love or like relationships. I remember when my specific person asked me out for a date, I was like, wow, I thought I would be more shocked, but I'm kind of not. And I feel like you really cannot run away from inner work. Like, of course, manifesting is fun. And I like that you shared your 10,000 affirmation journey as well, because I've manifested things using the 10,000 affirmations. And I'm like, that's so fun and that's part of it. But also, like, doing the inner work while doing that is also really important to just like have a really good life, like have a great life without trying to force or like strive for things to happen.
Exactly. I try to remind myself every day that if I can feel how I want to feel now ahead of time, and I can feel good no matter what, and I can be, calm, and I can be empowered, and I can give all of the things to myself that I'm wanting to have, whether because the reason why we want things is because we think it's going to make us feel a certain type of way. And so I can't tell you how many times in my life I've wanted a certain thing, and when I got it, I still felt as miserable or unfulfilled as I did before. And so maybe for a minute it felt good, but it's never long lasting until you make that kind of an inside job. And so I try to remind myself if I can feel good before it shows up, then I'll always be able to feel good. And that is always going to come from me. And it's no longer contingent or conditional on what I have or what's going on outside of me. And that is the most freeing, comforting, liberating thought that I've ever had because nothing can ever rob that from you. Nobody can take your state away from you. And if you can kind of start sourcing all of that within you ahead of time, then no matter what you have, you'll always be fulfilled no matter what. And that's so important.
Yeah, and you also talk a lot about nervous system regulation in your videos and how important it is, like you said, to not have people dictate your state. Learn to come back to your own center. So, do you have a favorite tool for nervous system regulation, especially for people that are watching this and they're like, I'm anxious, like I'm just waiting for that text from my person and I just want them in my life and, things will be okay.
It really is an everyday practice. I don't do it as often or as much as I used to, but I try to keep a baseline. So, my favorite thing to do in regards to nervous system regulation would either be EFT tapping or I love somatic shaking. Somatic shaking is my absolute favorite because it feels so good and it's quick and it's easy and it really like gets all that excess energy out that your body just can't hold on to anymore. And so I love that one, but I try not to let it get, if I feel myself being pulled away, because another thing that I kind of conceptualize as a reminder is if I start feeling bad or uncomfortable or nervous or whatever, or worrying or whatever the case may be, I know that I've been pulled away from myself and I'm out of alignment. And so it's not that you have to feel good all the time, but that's what your body is telling you. It's always giving you cues and it's your emotional guidance system. I think Abraham Hicks coined that term, your emotional guidance system. But that's how you know. And so for me, the gift that nervous system regulation gave to me when I started making it a lifestyle and a consistent practice was this tuning into my body in a way that I'd never experienced before, where now I know if something is coming up, whether it's a thought, it's something my mind is trying to tell me, or if it's something my reality is showing me, and it doesn't feel good, then I can tune into those cues of what my body's trying to say. And it's kind of like an alarm bell. Hey, come back to yourself. You've gotten pulled away because whatever is making you feel bad is not true and it's out of alignment with who you really are. I try to keep a baseline and maintain that where I'm not going to wait until I feel fully pulled away and spiraling before I start doing something about it, which is a hard lesson I learned actually because I feel like a lot of people can probably identify with this too. I've let it get so far gone that and it was insidious and it happened slowly and I didn't realize it. But now and thankfully that happened. It was a blessing because now I don't ever let it get to that point because I know what to do and I have the tools and the resources. And so to me, it's a practice. You get better at it. It gets faster. You bring yourself back to center so much more easily until it becomes normal for you. You're just more dominantly calm than you are nervous or anxious. And that's your baseline, and that's normal. And so to me, it's just a better feeling way to live your life, because if you're calm, you're automatically more empowered because you're not in constant fight or flight, and you're not just blindly falling into whatever's in front of your face. It's easy to comply with whatever your reality's showing you when you're in fight or flight, but when you're regulated and that's your baseline, you're more objective, you're curious, you're questioning, why would I buy into this about myself, especially if it feels bad, now that I can tune into what my body's trying to say.
Yeah, and that's what a regulated nervous system feels like. It's that reaction period just gets slower and slower and slower. Like I remember a time when a trigger would take me weeks. Like it would take me weeks to stop thinking about this particular thing, like what this person said or what I did. And it just took so long for me to accept it or to forgive myself. And then the more that I understand what a regulated nervous system feels like, the more I did breath work, the more I did tapping, the more I taught my body that it was safe to feel whatever was coming up. And I also love somatic shaking, by the way. It's amazing. And my cats do it all the time, right? Like cats do it all the time. It's like I
Mine
hug them and they're
too.
like,
Oh, animals do it all the time. Dogs, they shake. Animals are so in tune and they with their bodies, and they know what they need to do, and they're so intuitive, and they're present, and they're in the moment, which is, that's what nervous system regulation will do for you as well, especially as a consistent practice. Because if you think about it, anxiety is worrying about the future, and depression is ruminating on the past, and those two kind of go hand in hand, but we're meant to be present. And so when you feel safe in your body, you can be present because it's all happening right here, right now. And so you don't have to worry about the future. There is no future. It's all just right here, right now, the infinite now, as Dr. Joe would say, and I love him.
yeah, like my friend was telling me because I was sharing about how, it's really important to be here now and to come back to the present moment. And she's like, yeah, but I have all these things that are coming up and I'm just thinking about, planning a birthday and planning this wedding and it's just so much stress. And I'm like, yeah, I understand the planning part. That's okay, but the stress is optional because you're thinking about something that's going to happen a month from now, and that thing is not even here yet. So, what is the point of feeling anxious about the future or thinking about that thing when you get to choose which potential you want to think about? And now you're just simply choosing a potential
Yeah.
that brings you stress, right? So, it really is your choice, it's your free will.
That's kind of like investing in a potential or a reality that is unpreferable to you. So it's kind of like your attention, your focus is your investment. And when you're investing in fear or something that you don't prefer, I mean, that's your power, that's fine. But if you know that you don't have to choose that for yourself anymore, I always say nervous system regulation for me personally, and I see it in others too. It's the bridge from fear to power. It is a game changer because it just allows you to have a conscious choice. It gives you discernment. And I look back on my experience and see where so many times, because I was so dysregulated and I didn't know, I thought it was normal, didn't know how much better I could feel. I didn't know how bad I actually did feel. Once I started regulating, it changed everything for me. It changed my outlook on the world and the way that I perceive everything. And it really will set you free because you realize I get to choose now. And why would I ever choose anything that I don't actually want or I don't prefer? Because that's my power. That's my birthright. That's what I came here to do. And so thank you for the contrast that allowed me to get here to this awareness, because it's all serving you. But people don't realize, I think, sometimes online, how important nervous system regulation is. I mean, you can't change a belief if you're in fight or flight. It's so frustrating. It's fighting against yourself. And so the manifestation stuff is all well and good. Like we're always doing that. We're always manifesting. So if you can invest in yourself by investing in healing your nervous system, it's going to carry over into every area of your life in such a positive way that it makes all the other stuff just so much easier to navigate.
Totally agree with you. So, for people that are listening to this and they're trying to manifest a specific person, how can they tell if they are in flow and manifesting them from like a soul aligned place, from a healthy place, or they're chasing and attached and obsessing over this person? Like, what are some of the characteristics?
For me personally, that process kind of started out, I wasn't chasing, I was desperate, I was dysregulated. I was in that state that we talked about before where I thought, if I can just get this person back and, it'll fix everything and I'll feel better because, we just want to feel better. That's what we're actually looking for. And so, well, we don't realize we can do that for ourselves. And so I started learning, the specific person journey is what catalyzed me to all of these things, to doing what I do now. I mean, it truly started with that because I started learning about all of the universal laws and the concepts and the subconscious mind and the nervous system. And I'm so grateful that it happened. But for me personally, getting to the point where I trained my body into regulation, my mind followed. So once my body started feeling safe, and for me, I started, I made myself a promise. I'm going to do nervous system regulation every single day, multiple times a day for 30 days because my goal was to train my body out of fight or flight until regulation and safety became my baseline. That became normal autopilot. This is how I feel now more often than not. And so I started with that and I realized that my mind and my inner dialogue and my focus started to follow that. And so it felt easier for me to focus on myself. I wasn't controlling and clinging anymore. I didn't feel the need to prove my worth. I didn't feel the need to initiate in a way that I did before because I felt safe. And I felt safe to focus on things that felt good instead of, like we talked about before, entertaining all these things that could potentially go wrong or things that I don't prefer. And so it kind of just happened naturally for me. I started realizing, I actually I want to focus on myself. I don't care as much about putting all my attention on that person anymore because at the point that all of this started for me, I was doing that out of fear. And so when I took the fear element out, it allowed me to really find myself and focus on myself in a way that for me it was like of course I can be with this person, I can consciously manifest them, but I have the control over my reactions. I have the control now over the stories I'm telling about myself, the things I'm choosing to buy into, what I'm believing to be true and what I'm accepting, and I'm not clinging to anything out of fear anymore. So it just kind of aligned me and leveled me up in a sense with my own self-concept by doing that nervous system work where I could lean back and like I just stopped reaching out to him. And I was magnetic because I was so focused on me. And that's the difference. At the beginning of the journey, I was so focused on him. And by the end of it, I had found myself and I was so focused on me that, the dynamic started to shift and flip where I realized I don't need him to make me worthy. I don't need him to make me safe. I don't need to be with him to make me feel better. I'm doing all of that within. I made it an inside job. So that's kind of the contrast of one and the other, what that looked like personally for me in my process, which is wild because I attribute 99% of it to the nervous system regulation practice.
Oh my God, that was amazing. I resonate with it so much. And it's so similar to how I healed myself from my heartbreak as well. I literally just had this belief where I was like, I'm going to be okay with or without him. And I'm just going to give myself 30 days to just focus on nervous system regulation. I'm going to tap every single day. And I'm just going to be curious. I'm going to be curious where this journey takes me, right? I didn't have like a black and white thinking of, I have to be okay and I have to not want him anymore by the end of the 30 days. I was like, I'm just going to be open and I'm going to be curious and I'm going to entertain the belief that I'm going to be okay with or without this person because I also had a very unhealthy attachment style. Like, if he didn't text me, it would just ruin my entire day. And I really look back at that version of me and I don't judge her, right? Because it's because of her that I'm also doing this work. And it's because of my ex, I was just able to kind of see it from a larger perspective, from a soul perspective of if everyone is our mirror, then he was just an aspect of me that was teaching me to come back home to me. And so I was rejecting myself essentially. He wasn't rejecting me. I abandoned myself and I abandoned me. And I heard this quote about how your partner will love you more when you love yourself, not when you love them.
Spot on. Spot on. Because they are the direct reflection of your relationship with you. And so during that resonates so much with everything you just said. My journey's so similar. I That was a huge epiphany for me. It was a huge realization that wow, like I've been doing this backwards all of these years. And once again, same as you, I don't fault myself for that. I didn't know. I was doing what I was taught, right? I was doing all that I had the capacity to do at the time. And I love that girl and I have so much empathy for her. And you can't fault yourself for what you didn't know when you didn't know it. I say that all the time, but it's so true. And it's the biggest blessing ever because for me, hitting that rock bottom place of what I've been doing is not working, obviously. And I am the common denominator here, and not in a judging yourself way, but in a looking back and seeing the patterns type of way where I'm going to break this once and for all. I'm going to become something new. I'm going to choose myself for the first time ever. I'm going to stop abandoning myself and rejecting and betraying myself for other people. And that is the gift that keeps on giving, truly, because once you normalize that and once you start making your relationship with yourself your top priority, that's what all other relationships stem from. It's only when I started having a good relationship with me and learning how to fulfill myself with my own emotional needs, with my own safety, with all of the and being the love that I know that I am, and loving myself and not abandoning myself anymore, then and only then has been the time that I've been able to have a healthy relationship and maintain it long term with another person because I keep that with me. And to me, that is, not a selfish thing to do. It's the best thing you could ever do for yourself. That's how it's truly meant to be because everyone is your mirror. And so, thank God though for the reflection because if there was no one holding a mirror up to you, you wouldn't have known.
I really want to share this story that, doesn't have anything to do with manifesting a specific person, but it's related to how everyone is your mirror. And you know this because I told you, but one of the reasons, actually, a big reason why I booked my retreat to Joe Dispenza was because you shared in your Instagram story that you're going to Freedom Queen Live. And you were talking about how that was like a move from your future self. And
Yeah.
in that moment, I'm actually getting goosebumps like telling the story, but like Courtney was a big part of like that whole journey of me even, going to Dr. Joe's website and being like, let's see if tickets are available. I know it's 2 weeks from now, and his wait list, is hundreds of thousands, but I'm like, I'm just gonna try and see this. And I went on his website and the tickets were available and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm going to move as my future self too." And again, it didn't come without those fearful and doubtful thoughts because I was like, I'm in Indonesia. Like this is going to be a really long flight. I shouldn't do this. Like the logical way is I shouldn't do it. but I knew that I had to move as my future self. And I just booked those tickets, and my cousin came with me, and she lives in LA. It was just everything was perfect because the place was so close to where my family lives that I was like, it would be insane if I didn't go. And it was almost like you were my mirror as well in that moment to remind me to move as my future self. So I just thought that that was crazy little story that shows that everyone truly is your mirror.
Yes, I am so honored that that inspired you. That makes me feel so good and so happy. And that was meant for you. That was just for you. And I look at it as my future self breadcrumbing me because they're already living an experience that I am headed towards as we speak. And but it's all happening right here, right now. And so I try to stay open to those intuitive hits and quiet the ego when it tries to doubt me because I know exactly what you mean. Freedom Queen is in November, and I have had doubts come up about it, like, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing, or what am I doing here? You know what I mean? I don't know what, but that's the thing. It's not logical, and you don't have to know. That's not your job. It's not your business to figure all of that out. But something told me in that moment when I felt so compelled, it was an intuitive hit. I felt so compelled to buy that ticket and go because I just knew in that moment that there's something there for me. I am supposed to be there. And it does not make sense. It still does not make sense. But I can't tell you how many times in my life I have done that and other people didn't get it, or I didn't even get it at the time, but it was life changing. It was exactly where I was supposed to be and exactly what I was supposed to do. And so I try to just really, and this is where nervous system regulation really helps with this, I try to lean into those things that light me up and the actions that I'm led to take in that moment because I know everything I've ever done, every decision I've ever made has led me right here and I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And so those things are not happening not for a reason. They are happening for a reason. It's not a coincidence. It's not a mistake. And yeah, it's just wild how, and I don't know if you follow anything about like astrology or human design, and all of those are, kind of permission slips, but they're fun, to play around with. I don't make them my end all be all, but I'm a manifesting generator. And that's kind of the thing with us, you know what I mean? Like supposedly in human design, where you just get these intuitive hits and they just come over you and you feel compelled to do something. And it's not linear, it doesn't make sense, it's not logical, but you just got to follow it because that's like where your greatness and your magic lies, and it's always leading you towards something. So as I've healed my nervous system, and as I've become more in alignment and more intuitive and more open to those things, it's just been such a game changer, and it really is so magical. And I've even been visited by my future self. I did a self hypnosis a few months ago.
I'm interrupting the episode real quick, but if you're trying to manifest your specific person but still feel stuck in the same old story, it's time to go deeper. You cannot manifest a new version of them if you're still holding on to the old version of you. That's exactly why I created Forgive and Recreate Your SP. This is my transformational workshop to help you release the past, shift your energy, and finally become the version of you who receives the love you've been desiring. We're not chasing, we never chase our specific person. We are going to heal on a deep level. If you're ready to stop repeating the same cycles and finally create a brand new story for yourself and your specific person, this is your invitation. Join me inside this workshop. I would love to have you in there. You'll find all the link in the show notes. And now back to the episode.
My subconscious mind led me through all of these things, these scenes from my past, and I revised them in that moment. And then I also was visited as current me by future me, which we know it's all happening right now. But she told me, there's nothing you need to do. You don't have to force, you don't have to try, you don't have to strive. You just need to listen to where I'm guiding you because I've already done all the things that you're intending for right now. I'm living them right here, right now. And so I try to remember her whenever I feel led to do certain things because I know it's leading me towards whatever I've intended for.
Yeah, I had a very similar experience at the Joe Dispenza retreat where I was that version looking back at the past version of me that was booking that ticket and also saying like do it, like just do it, you know? And I'm like, wait, because I had that feeling when I was booking that ticket as well. When the doubts came, it was almost like there was another voice. I was like, just do it, like just literally do it. And I'm like, was that me? Like in the
It
future?
was you in that moment. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness, that is so trippy. Have you ever seen the movie Interstellar?
it's my favorite movie ever.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Interstellar is the biggest synchronicity of my life. I'm telling you, a few weeks ago, my husband just randomly turned this movie on and he's like, "Do you remember Interstellar?" And it's like, "Yeah, I like vaguely remember it. I know I've seen it." He just turned it on and we started watching it. And I realized when it was over, oh my God, this is how reality works. This is what we're doing here. This is what it all is. And it is your future self breadcrumbing you. And none of the things that you've done that have led you to where you are now have been a mistake. It has all been mapped out for you. It is all happening right now. And it's you who is leading you there because you've already done it and you're just remembering and you're reminding yourself. And it's, if I think about it too much, it's so mind blowing. It's so magical. Like, how crazy is that? But Interstellar is such a synchronicity for me. I could go on and on about that movie, but I see it everywhere. I see people talking about it. I mean, it's, but the message of that movie is just spot on.
And you know what's crazy? I watched that movie on a flight like a few years ago, and it was like two flights. So I hadn't finished it on the first leg, and I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to get on the next flight because I need to know what's gonna happen. And then I sobbed on the flight, and my friend next to me was like, what's happening? I was like, Interstellar, have you seen it? Because it's the first time I'm watching the like on this flight. But no, that movie is insane. It really is like what we were just talking about. It's like everything is happening now, and he was getting those messages from him, but it was like everything was just happening in that moment. I mean, I don't think our brain is meant to understand it as well because you can't make sense of it. It's not meant to be made sense of.
I even think about too, when the doubts come up, he had doubts too. He's like, should I be going? Should I be leaving my kids? Maybe this is not the right thing to do. And it happened anyway, regardless of the doubts. And so when my ego tries to mess with me and fear tries to creep in, I'll remind myself of that. It doesn't matter if the doubt is here. What I'm doing cannot pass me by. It cannot miss me. So even if I have doubts, even if I have fear, it's already done. It's already happening. There's nothing that could stop it. And so that is so comforting and it makes it easier for me to kind of lean back and trust in the unseen and tap into that like knowingness of it doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to be logical. It doesn't have to look linear. It's just I just have to trust and I have to chill out. I hear Bashar say this all the time. Everybody just needs to relax. We just need to relax because it's all already done.
Michael Singer talks a lot about that as well. Like basically both of his books, the core message is like just relax. Like everything that's happening, just relax into it. Don't try to fight it. Everything is just helping you meet yourself, so just relax. And I love Bashar too.
I love him too. All of the spiritual teachers, it makes me so happy because everyone is saying the same thing with their own spin and with different words. And I love that. And I look at it in such a lens of abundance because we need everyone. And you are only going to say it the way that only you can. And there are people that are only going to resonate with that. And so I'm so happy to have all of these teachers and tools and resources and, an abundance of people interpreting these concepts that have always been. And so in a way that people can understand them because we're in this age now where these things are becoming more normalized and people are starting to really understand and implement. And I look at it as kind of a collective movement that we're all doing and coming into more awareness and more understanding. To me, that's just really exciting. And so, like, I love all the spiritual teachers, Abraham Hicks, Bashar, Dr. Joe, Neville Goddard. They've all changed my life.
I totally agree. And I also agree with that in the sense that it's so normal to have these conversations now. I remember I did my first past life regression when I was like 17 years old. So this was in 2007. And I didn't have anybody to talk to about it because I'm like, how do I tell you that I was a Victorian woman, like in the 1400s? Like nobody would understand that. And I remember I would wait for my parents to leave the house, for my brother to not be in the house, because then I had to be deep in hypnosis. I was watching like this episode with Oprah and Dr. Brian Wise. And he was sort of like the one that wrote the book Many Masters, Many Lives, or Many Lives, Many Masters. And I did his audio and I was like I was just so interested in that. And now we get to have conversations about it and it's so normal and it's actually amazing. Like we have so many tools and so many teachers to learn from and it's actually so fun. Like what a time to be alive, actually.
I agree. It's a very exciting time. I don't know if it's the whole age of Aquarius thing, you know what I mean, where people are really waking up and they're breaking out of old paradigms. And I always say, and to me this has so many meanings to it, but I always say that this generation of people and the ones after us, we're the cycle breakers because literally we are breaking these generational paradigms that have been passed down for centuries, for years and years and years and years. And we are the ones who are actually breaking those loops, which is that is insane if you really think about it.
So, another aspect of manifesting an SP that I wanted to talk about, and I actually saw somebody comment this on your video. It's about like soul contracts and divine timing. And I've always been curious about this myself as well. But do you personally believe that soul contracts or divine timing play a role in specific person manifestation? Like, how does that help or hinder?
You know, this is so nuanced because I feel like my understanding of that has evolved and it's ever changing. There was a time where I really bought into that, like the whole soul contracts and things we signed up beforehand. And then there was a time where I didn't anymore. But as I continue to grow in awareness, it's all relevant. You know what I mean? Like it's all real. And so I don't even know if I can articulate what I'm trying to say, but in a sense, now I do see that a lot of things have already been mapped out for us because we chose it before we got here. And so, yes, I mean, those things I believe do exist, but it's not something that should have power over you or something that's, you know, hindering your journey or your progress or your evolution or awareness. But at the same time, when I kind of conceptualized that idea before, it was coming from a place of not realizing that everything is me. And so now, you know, kind of going through my evolution of conceptualizing that and, you know, not really buying into that anymore for a while. And now on the other side, seeing, well, if everything is me, even if me right now, Courtney, can't understand this or can't conceptualize it, consciousness me has already written it. So everything is you and it's all happening now. And so, in a sense, yes, those things must be true somewhere in time and space. But at the same time, you in this moment right now are always choosing the rules of your game at the same time. And everything is your assumptions and everything is and so I feel like it's both. It's this and that. It's more than we can comprehend in our human self, if that makes sense.
Oh my gosh, I totally agree with that. And for me, I think it's more like, because I do have people come to me and they're like, I've been trying to manifest my SP for 6 years. And I'm like, okay, you have to relax because
Yeah.
That in itself is a clear message too. It's like it's okay to let people go, and that doesn't mean that the work didn't work. It doesn't mean that manifestation doesn't work. It doesn't mean that you're bad at manifesting. It doesn't mean that you're a failure. Like, don't even use your person to validate that belief, right? Like, it's okay if this person is not for you right now, because I 100%, and I know this is your story as well, like, people can break up and get back together. Like, that happens all the time. I literally have a cousin who reunited with somebody that she dated like 5 years later, and they were just not aligned at one point in time. But
Yeah.
after they dated other people, they kind of found their way back into each other. And I just feel like if it comes with a lot of force and it comes with a lot of trying and anxiety, that in itself can be a message, because the way that my cousin reunited as well, it was in such a serendipitous and flowy way that you're like, okay, this is soul aligned.
Yeah.
And again, it kind of goes back to what we've been talking about this whole time. That's why working on yourself is number one, because when you cannot give yourself these things, you start to expect other people to give that to you, and then you give so much responsibility for the other person to be like, why do you not love me? And if you don't love me, it means must not be lovable.
Exactly. I tell people this all the time because I feel like there's such um, a misconception when it comes to specific person things on the conversation about that topic online. I tell my clients all the time, it is not a failure if the specific person that you started out wanting at the beginning of this journey is not the person that you decide is for you. That's okay. It's not that you can't have this person. It's not that there's anything wrong with you. You have not failed. But like you just said, you know, if you're coming at it from a place of needing that person and needing them to show up in a certain way in order to validate you, that is so misaligned with who you actually are. And so, of course, that's going to be the people that have been chasing them for 6 years or however long, because that is so misaligned with your soul, like you said. And so, but you know, you can have anyone you want to have, that you can have anything, that you're limitless, absolutely. But that in itself is coming from the awareness and understanding that you are whole and complete and good enough and loved and all these things on your own without that person and without them showing up a certain way. And that's where I think people kind of get confused about it. They get thrown off. And so I truly think that's such an important question for people to ask themselves. And maybe, if you, depending on what state you're coming from, do I want to manifest an experience with a person of my choosing from a place of empowerment and completion and wholeness, loving myself and all those things, and having all these things within already? That's my foundation. That's a completely different conversation than someone who has outsourced or projected all of these voids to fill or needs to have met from this specific person that they are clinging on so tightly to out of fear and lack and scarcity. Those are two completely different things. And so the latter, more often than not, I find those people don't really want to be with that person. They just want to be validated. They just want to feel chosen. They want to feel better. And so that's the most important question. Where are you coming from with it being this person? Because if you have gone through this transformation of self and you found yourself, it might not be that person anymore, but that's okay. And that's not a failure, because they serve the purpose of bringing you home to yourself. Not that you still couldn't have them, but that's going to look very different depending on the state that you're in because of the process that you've gone through. If that makes sense.
I realized that when I was doing like these techniques of, writing down my desires 55 times and doing the whisper method, all of them worked. Like all of them literally worked. But there came a point where I was like, I don't want to live like this. Like, because when I wasn't doing them, I wasn't feeling good. And I was like, do you mean to tell me that I have to do this for the rest of my life to get this person to want me or like me or text me? And that was my aha moment too. And actually, a book that I read when I broke up, it was called Wanting to Be Wanted, because sometimes that's all you want. And I realized that within myself, where I was like, okay, if I'm being so honest with myself, this is not the person that I actually want to be with, not somebody that I want to build a family with. I mean, I was already attached to him because I was with him for like 5 years, but it's not somebody that I necessarily think that I could build a family with and a life with. But I told myself I could settle, you know? And that's when I was like, wait, I think this is a trauma bond. And I need to stop making it SP focused, like affirming for him and doing the whisper method for him. And I just need to like come back to myself because I started to feel so anxious almost every day. And I was like, this is not who I am. This is not who I want to be. Like, what am I doing with my life? And that was my rock bottom of like, do I feel so unworthy that I need to beg for somebody else's attention? And I saw that you posted that video, which made me laugh. You were like, you would literally catch me dead before I would chase a man. Like,
Yep. And
why?
you know what?
Yeah.
I have not all that has not always been the case because I'm telling you, I used to very much chase a man. But it's so funny because I've been there too, exactly what you just said, where, and thank God it did not go the way that I wanted it to then, because that person that I was so fixated on, and that's where I was coming from. I wanted him to say something and to do something so that I could finally feel validated, so that I could finally feel worthy and good enough. And thank God that it didn't go that way because I did not actually want to be with that person. He was not the one. You know what I mean? And so that's not how it's supposed to be. And it really is a lot of times, I think, especially now, the more and more I learn and grow, there are certain things that serve a purpose as a means to an end for you to wake up and for you to come back to yourself. And all of those things, once again, your future self is guiding you, and you will know what is really aligned for you and what is really meant from you based on where you're coming from with it. By the end of my specific person journey with my husband, I didn't even care if it showed up in 3D. I was so fulfilled with myself. I was so happy being me, loving me, living my life, being in the moment, feeling free. I knew that it was going to happen. I was in that knowing state, but I also knew that it was aligned. And I knew that, like you said before, even if he never showed up, I did not care. It didn't matter anymore because I had found myself, and it's the best thing I ever did. And I'll never forget having this profound moment in the process of that journey where I realized, it still makes me cry when I talk about it. I realized, like, wow, I really am all the things I've always been looking for. It's always been me. I am the love I've always been seeking. I am the worth. I am the value. I am all of these things I've been chasing in these other people and outsourcing to them. It's always been me, which is so paradoxical, and it's also really funny too sometimes when you can look back and laugh at it and go, wow, like, but nobody can ever take this away from me either. I have everything I need. I am everything I've always been looking for. And I've never left, and I'm not going anywhere. So that in itself is very freeing. No matter who's with me, I've got me. I love me. I'm the love of my life. So, of course, anyone and everyone, when you're in that state, which is your true state, that's your true state, everyone is going to want to love you. There's not one person in this world, because love is who you are at your core. And when you are in the embodiment of that, everything and everyone, it will gladly reflect that back to you, just like they did all the other things. So I truly see a lot of these templates and journeys and the circumstances to getting there, they look different for everyone, but it's the means to the end of realizing and coming into the awareness of who you are.
Courtney, I feel like I could talk to you for hours. like literally
The
hours.
same way.
Yeah. But my last question to you is who or what has been the most inspiring and the greatest teacher for you, whether it's a person or an experience or even an element?
Oh my goodness. It's funny. I used to look at my process and the way that I move and the way that I navigate things that's really unique to me. I don't know if that makes sense. It's my process, my the way that my energy works. I used to look at it in such a different way where, I would shame and judge myself, or I would go, why does everyone else figure have it figured out and I don't? Like, what am I missing? What am I doing wrong? And now I see that process. It's like a trial and error thing for me. And it kind of always has been. But that's the magic and the beauty of my process. And so that is what allows me. It's kind of like the phoenix, the death, the rebirth, which is very Scorpio. I have a lot of Scorpio in my chart. But the fucking up, pardon my French, and then figuring it out. And you turning that into power in a sense. So now I look back on my journey and I look at it as such a blessing going through those periods of trial and error and cycles and getting it wrong and then figuring it out, right? Because there's no wrong, there's no judgment, there's no mistake. And so, if anything, that has probably been my biggest teacher to know that this is just my process. And I have such a love and appreciation for it now that I didn't in the past. And I look back on everything and I go, all of this stuff that I went through, the contrast, the suffering, the discomfort, thank God for it. I thank it. And it's brought me so much trust in myself and power and magic that I just know now. Like, it doesn't matter what the future brings. It doesn't matter what I'm presented with. It's always helping me. It's always serving me, no matter what it looks like. And now, having kind of blazed that trail for myself in my own life, it's such an honor for me to kind of like pay that forward and pass it along and go, hey, this is what I did. Don't do me, because this is what actually works. And so it's the trial and error. And that's the whole manifesting generator thing too, where, we move through things really quickly and then we go and we tell people what we did wrong so that you can do it better. You know what I mean? And so that process for me has been everything. And I really just appreciate it now instead of looking at it with judgment or like I've done something wrong. It's just different. That's all. But that's the magic of it.
I love that. It's like life has been your greatest teacher. And actually, life wants to be our greatest and most inspiring teacher if we allow it, right? Like, just don't fight anything that comes up, allow it to come up. And I really like that whole, concept of just surrendering and relax because everything in your life is just helping you meet yourself deeper and deeper. And oh my God. I literally look at my ex now and I'm like, infinite gratitude. You were an angel. We had a soul contract and we literally did it amazingly. Like, you taught me so much. I'm so glad. Like, the chapter is closed. He's with someone else. And I'm like, I'm literally so happy. Like, I'm literally so happy. There's no animosity, nothing. Because it's like, I look back and I'm like, but if you didn't do that, I wouldn't be here. So I would never change anything, even if I wanted
It's so
to.
true.
Yeah.
It's so true. And once again, Interstellar made me one of the ways that I woke up to realize through the message of that movie too. And once again, it's always on time and never late. You are always exactly right where you're supposed to be. Always. And every decision you've ever made has brought you right here. And it had to be that way. It was supposed to be that way. There are no accidents. There are no mistakes. And so, to me, that thought also is so comforting and liberating. And it also gives me so much trust and excitement and everything for the future and for right now, because I know everything is all happening for a reason. And I am in a certain part of that journey right now, but our whole life is the unfolding, which is really fun. And I look at it like, big me, higher self, consciousness me, whatever you want to call it, God, whoever. It's all the same thing. She mapped out all of these things for me, and all I need to do is relax. Like you said, I need to relax and trust and stay open and stay present. And that's really all we ever need to do.
100%. Courtney, tell all of our listeners where they can find you and if this episode, and I'm sure it did, resonate with so many people, but how can they work with you as well?
I am on TikTok mostly. I post some on Instagram, but my handle is Courtney M. Stephenson on both platforms. I post almost every day on TikTok. I have links in my bios if you'd like to work with me. I have tons of courses, specific person, self concept, even nervous system regulation. And I also have a YouTube, which I intend to start posting on more often. So that's where you can find me. I'm Courtney M. Stevenson everywhere. I decided, and that was another thing,
Yeah.
I decided to just go out there with my name. If I'm going to show up fully, let me do it. You know what I mean? And without fear and authentically and unapologetically. Yes, I'm Courtney and Savannah, but I'm also Courtney fucking Stevenson. So there you go.
Slay. I love that. Thank you so much, Courtney. And thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode. Let us know if it resonated with all of you. Message us and share it to anybody that you think might benefit from this conversation. We talked about everything, like literally
I think we
everything.
did.
Yeah.
I could talk to you for hours, just like you said. We could go on and on. I could talk about these things for an eternity. It makes me
No,
so
yeah.
happy. It lights me up. And I know it does you as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's 10 p.m. here, and I'm like, I need another hour because I have way too many things that I want to discuss. Maybe you can come back to the episode and we could talk about other stuff to
I
the.
would love to. I would love to. Just let me know when and I'm there.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening, and I'll see you next week. Bye.